Welcome to another episode of Holy Shift. This is a preview of what you're about to land into, guys. The title says it all.
Yep.
You want to talk about getting naked? Like, I think I'm definitely going to get metaphorically naked on this podcast today.
Welcome to Holy Shift, the podcast where medicine meets mystery and healing becomes whole.
We're your hosts, Taylor Sappington
and Adrienne Irizarry.
Two clinicians, herbalists, and mystics who believe the old ways and modern medicine were never meant to live apart.
This is a space for the witches in the broom closet, the healers afraid to leave their mark, the world walkers who know they don't fit into the systems they were handed.
Here we go first, sharing our stories, our medicine, and the truth about what it really takes to reclaim your power, your health, and your place in the world.
Because the safest, most radical thing you can be is yourself.
This is your permission.
This is your portal.
This is your Holy Shift. One of the first things I said to Adrienne, because I've recently started steaming, Adrienne and I worked together for 2 years?
Yeah, pretty close.
And then Florida summers literally suck the life out of me. I love heat. I cannot do humidity. So I stopped steaming because I was having such a hard time in the heat here. The humidity, I need to be specific. And I stopped steaming for a bit and I literally was dealing with fire crotch. So let me explain, guys. No, I don't have an STD. There's not abs. The first thing I said to Adrienne when we got on today was my vagina didn't feel like it wanted to fall off this month.
Yep.
Take that as you will. But what do I mean by that? Every single month for the last several months, I have been dealing with what feels like vaginal dermatitis. I'm fine until I get my period, and then I get my period. And you know that song like Sex is on Fire? Like, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It's more like my lips are on fire, right? Like every single month after month, I'm like, holy shit, holy lips, people, you know? And I'm like, is it my period panties? Is it the pH of the blood? Is it a dip in hormones?
Yep.
We'll talk about that at some point. I'm experimenting with Anito. Adrienne has used it. Much to my chagrin, my hormones are probably going to be fucking perfect. That's good news. We'll take it and run with it. But every month I would get this increasingly worsening fire in my pants. And it was towards the middle/end of my cycle. And for 2 or 3 days post-cycle, underwear would be uncomfortable to wear. Yep. So I finally came back to Adrienne and I was like, I don't think it's vaginal dermatitis, but that is the best description that I can give you. And she's like, oh, honey, you have fire in the walls of the house that you can't see. So do you want to unpack that a little? Let's talk about what it means. Because I imagine this is more common than we think. And most women are just uncomfortable talking about it. Because who wants to go to the doctor and be like, my lips are on fire?
Well, and they go to the doctor and they say that, and the doctor goes, oh, you're fine.
Or it's like an estrogen issue and they don't do the proper testing or the timing with the testing. And then they're placed on something that's absolutely not at all helpful and usually exacerbates the issue. It can, or it can create new issues. And yes, so this is where I love Eastern medicine's explanation for all of these things, because I feel like it grounds it in a reality. Makes the raunch out of it.
Well, sort of.
Yeah.
But like it also like grounds it in something tangible that people can understand. So I love Chinese medicine because the way that they describe everything is too hot, too cold, too damp, too dry. And all of us can look out the window and understand how the weather works, right? So our body has a climate to it. And it's actually very common for women to experience. Sometimes there's a little bit of an odor change just before they bleed. Sometimes during the bleed itself, they will experience some irritation or itching. Sometimes it's just after the bleed.
I don't want, tell me too. Okay, I'm not the only one that's done this. We all have significant others in our lives, or most of us do, that know our scent, if you will. I have dead ass gone to Paul and been like, I need you to be my drug sniffing dog. I need you to tell me, like the look on this man's face when I'm like, you said for better or for worse. Here we are. I need you to tell me if anything's off. To which 90, I don't even think ever. He's like, there's no scent. And that was
Yes.
what was so confusing to me. No scent, no discharge. Like,
Yes. Yes. Okay. So you brought up a really good point. And I think this is something that is important to clarify is there are a lot of women who think they are nuts because they're like, I feel like I have an infection, but I don't have any discharge.
yes.
It is possible for that to happen. The allopathic model is like discharge equals,
Yes.
right? And the Chinese medicine model goes, no, there's nuances here. So traditionally, we think of infections as having discharge.
Yeah.
The discharge might smell like ammonia. If it's a yeast infection, it might look cottage cheesy. It could be yellow or green.
Yep.
With BV, it's often clear, but there's an odor and itch factor that go along with that. But there's a lot of profuse. But that's how you can tell that you don't just have leukorrhea, which is like excess vaginal discharge.
Had that too.
Right. But that's a dampness pattern. Okay.
Yeah.
So Chinese medicine will look at that as a dampness pattern. You have excess dampness in your system. So the difference is leukorrhea does not have or excess vaginal discharge. It is clear or cloudy, like white cloudy, and it doesn't have an itch and it doesn't have a smell.
No, you just feel like you're peeing yourself.
Yes.
Literally.
Yes. For some people, it can be so
running down your leg.
Yes, because the body's trying to get rid of this extra dampness that's in the body. Now, dampness, for people who aren't familiar or haven't listened to previous episodes, that can look like sock lines on your ankles because you have a little bit of extra fluid in your legs. That can look like needing to take your rings off at night because your fingers will swell and you won't be able to get them off in the morning. Dampness looks a bunch of different ways. Dampness looks like bloating.
Collection. I was just going to say, does it also look like collection of heaviness in the lower abdominal?
Yes, it can. Puffiness in other parts of the body can be linked to dampness, cysts. There's like a whole bunch of things that fall under that category, right? So a lot of times when there is heat and there is dampness, this is where you'll get odor, discharge that's itchy, like BV, for example. You can get the itchy, yeasty kind of discharge with yeast infections. UTIs actually fall into that category as well. So it's a damp, heat-natured situation.
Yeah.
Anything that has to do with bacteria overgrowing its normal balance. Okay. So this could be candida. This could be any of the things that I've just mentioned. It means there's heat involved. There's enough heat for bacteria to proliferate.
This explanation too, I hope if it's not, let this be the cue for you to start clicking things in your mind. This should make looking at any overgrowth in your body a much simpler process. It is not this intricate, overly involved process to discern if you've got overgrowth. It's dampness. In the gastrointestinal tract, where does that come from? It comes from pH imbalance primarily. So just translate that all the way through, right? We overcomplicate a lot of things in health and wellness. Like, oh, let's run a $500 test. Why? Let's look at a pattern first.
Well, and again, this is where like people who are unfamiliar with the way Eastern medicine does its, and I hate to use the word diagnostics because it sounds very Western allopathic, but it's pattern recognition really is what it is. There are certain things that all hang together in a certain presentation in the body. And that's how Chinese medicine figures things out. So, and
astrology figures it out too. Like they're very similar.
Very much so. Ayurveda does the same thing. Ayurvedic medicine looks at imbalances in the harmony inside of your body, the same way that Chinese medicine does. Different terminology, sometimes a slightly different vantage point, but there's a lot of similarities there. So as somebody trained in Western Chinese and Ayurvedic herbal materia medica, like I look at my selection of Western herbs with an Eastern energetic lens, because not only just because that's where I began, but also for me, running everything through that weather report filter has always made more sense in my brain. And I feel like it makes more sense to my clients when I talk to them.
Well, and in 3 episodes ago, we talked about herbs and like inappropriate use of herbs, but there's something called antipathy and then there's sympathy. And you have got to approach the utilization of herbs through that lens. It is so very important. Like we're talking about dampness, lunar herbs in medical astrology, right? We've got demucilants, we've got drain, so we have to be very mindful of what we're applying to certain constitutions, because if we over drain, it's going to be a problem. And if we add damp to an already damp system, it's going to be a problem. So I just think the whole Eastern philosophy is gorgeous. Really.
I have so much love, appreciation, and respect for how sophisticated those systems are. I mean, it's the 5,000 to 7,000 year old medicine, guys. So like they've had a lot of bodies to look at to create pattern recognition. So when we're looking at like infections, for example, or any disharmony in the lower part of our body, my money is on the 5,000 year old medicine, because
we haven't even studied females in Western medicine. Okay, like get out of here. We haven't even studied women. So yeah, me too.
Well, and Western medicine's only like 200 some odd years old.
We're not going to make this a soapbox podcast, I promise. But it rides the tails of everything Adrienne and I do in clinical practice. And I'm going to call Eastern medicine clinical. I'm going to call decumbiture and astrology clinical. Herbalism is clinical. And I would even say taking herbalism out of the Western approach, because there's an allopathic way to approach herbalism, you know, like herb for a symptom, which I think is a very time and place. Yeah, for sure. But generally speaking, it's a really poor application of herbs.
I did a podcast episode on Reproductive Rebel about this, because I was seeing so many people, and it's that whole, like, I see a herb on social media. Oh, I have that symptom, I'm going to apply it. And it's the whole reason I don't post. And I think I said that in a previous episode. I don't post about herbs on my feed. And I've had criticism about that. Like, you say you're an herbalist, but you don't talk about herbs. And I'm like, but I don't want people to assume that this one herb is going to work for them. It's just like pelvic steaming herbs, like people who make generic blends. Like, sure, you're hitting some portion of the population, but it's no different than medication. Like SSRIs only work for 25 roughly % of the population.
A whole podcast we could do too.
Well, and maybe we should, because like this is where I feel like herbalism is so much more sophisticated, because you're looking at the individual person.
I mean, even from an SSRI perspective, like, do we have a lunar excess or deficiency? Do we have a solar excess or deficiency? Like, what's the Shen doing? What herbs do we need to work with the Shen and uplift? Just like adaptogens. Adaptogens tend to be vitalistic herbs, but they tend to be vitalistic herbs in the sense of uplifting vitality through the Shen.
Right. And not all adaptogens work for a person's constitution the way that you might see in an infographic on social media.
Yes.
So, you know,
back to the vagina.
This is like bringing it back to fire crotch. This is where being able to use certain tools for creating harmony in the lower jiao or the lower burner, depending on the terminology, the lower part of your body, your belly button down, is really important in terms of being able to create the harmony that is needed for the symptom to go away, because that's the whole premise here. So if there's too much heat and there's too much damp, you're going to have some sort of a symptom there. For men, it looks like prostate enlargement. It looks like burning with ejaculation. It looks like having trouble to pee. Maybe you don't have true prostatitis, but you're starting to see either an increase. So little things like that can indicate something bigger that's coming. For women, it can look like different colors of vaginal discharge. It can look like what Taylor was describing, which might not come with discharge at all. So now you just have heat, but you don't have the damp piece. I've had clients describe it like, I want to stick my finger in my vagina and just itch, because it's itchy and burny, but there's no discharge. So they go, am I having an infection? Am I not? This is really uncomfortable. What's wrong with me? And there's nothing wrong with you. You're just having a dry type of...
I really appreciate you saying that too, because one of the reasons I hesitated so long is because I felt, yes, me, of all people, who talks about poop and pee and like body functions all day, right? We have our own hangups too. You
Right.
know, I was like, I feel kind of dirty. Like, am I not washing my period panties well enough? Like, am I
Yes.
creating a hot box for myself? I think those are the words I used. Adrian, they have a hot box. Like, and I don't know what it is. Like, I felt like there was something wrong. And I have a really good repertoire in this beautiful brain of mine, right? Like, I have expansive tools, but this is also really important to make mention of. It is okay. Oftentimes, it is really important to not manage your own care in its entirety. Like, I was too
Yes.
close. And then I was bringing the emotions into it and I was throwing all of my tools at it. And that's the last thing you want to do. Do not throw the baby out with the bathwater. So it's good to have an objective outside perspective who can talk you down off a ledge and talk you through the details that you're probably not seeing. And let's be real, your vaginal tissue is incredibly sensitive.
Yes, it's some of the most porous cells in your entire body. They're called
So
squamous
remember
cells.
that, ladies, when you're hooking up with that dude, not to make you feel bad, but like the peen that goes in the vagine, you need to be careful with that. Like,
Energetically and physically.
I
Yes.
stay with you for 7 years. P.S. By the way, energetically, that fun dude, like, look, I'm all for girl power. Like, you want to go out and you want to like lady humps? That's fine. I'm good with that. What are we doing on this episode? Welcome to Taylor and Adrian Unhinged. And ladies, you are literally penetrated.
Yes.
And your energetic bodies are penetrated. And the more I learn in quantum medicine, I was saying this to Adrian, the more I'm like, fuck no. You can't come in my little circle. No, that's okay. So like whomever it is you're sleeping with, even if it's your husband that you can't stand, let's be real. Pieces of him, literally and figuratively speaking, right? But more so figuratively when we're talking about 7 years, they're going to stick with you.
Yes. Well, I'm glad that you said it that way because it actually dovetails with what it is that we're talking about with fire crotch. Like I have seen clients that have come to me with recurrent BV over the 8 years I've been in formal practice, right? And they're like, I had this one partner, I had this one hookup. And this is not just females. This is males too.
Yep.
Who have had damp heat presentations that have lingered with them years after they have had intimate relations with one person. And they can point, like I will ask them, when did this begin? And they can point to a person in time that the symptoms started after. And inevitably, there was always some sort of negative energetic something. The person cheated on them. The person was having relations behind their back. The person had an infection they hadn't disclosed. The person was abusive. Maybe it wasn't that they had anything happening in their lower jaw. Maybe it was just energetically, they were not a healthy person to be with. Whatever it is, people can point back to a moment in time and say, this is when this started. It created a disharmony in this part of the body. And we oftentimes, particularly women, turn ourselves off between our connection in our head to this part of our body. And that's been socialized into us. That's been sexualized into us. This has been indoctrinated at so many different levels, both subconsciously as well as consciously, that we disconnect from this part of our body unless she's yelling and screaming at us.
It's like, that's the body in general, literally the body in general. But yes, absolutely too, obviously. I'm going to say vagina. We're going to continue to normalize the word vagina. And look, I was a girl that my parents were like, it's your Susie. And as cute as that sounds, it's my vagina. And Susie's my friend. Yeah. Like, my goodness. So it's interesting because one of the first things that came to mind for me when I was dealing with this is it must be hormonal. I must be perimenopausal. It must be hormonal and it must be estrogen, right? Because I do know that estrogen plays a huge role in maintaining the thickness, the elasticity, and the moisture of the tissues in the vagina. Here we go again, right? Everybody take a drink every time I say it. Sip on your cocoa, but of the vagina, right? And in the days leading up to your period, especially right after, your estrogen levels tank. So that leaves your vaginal lining. You're trying not to laugh.
Because now she's throwing vagina in here to make you guys drink.
Thinner, drier, and obviously more vulnerable to irritation. which can feel like sandpaper, right? So I was like, this has got to be an estrogen issue.
Mm-mm.
Guess what? It ain't an estrogen issue.
Well, and that's one thing, like when people come to me and they go, oh, I have these labs and da 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 da. And like, how can you do your work without labs? I'm like, well, I could do a lot of things without labs. Like, it's fine.
Honestly, can we pause there for a minute too? Sorry, I swear to God, I'll get one topic. Okay, guys, we really have to talk through this. Maybe we could do a whole episode on therapizing around labs, especially blood serum. Let's go there first. They give you a 90-second snapshot. And I'm not saying that labs cannot be utilized in conjunction with other modalities, in conjunction with a more well-rounded perspective. But if you're hanging your hat on labs, you are selling yourself short. And you are misleading yourself oftentimes down a trajectory that's going to be problematic, both short and long term. By the time you've given the blood and the tube has been placed in the centrifuge, your biochemistry is different. By the time you make it to your doctor's office, it has been so long since I've been to a doctor. So what's the typical timeline? Is it a month, 2 months, 3 months?
Depends on where you're located in the country.
Right.
Honestly.
So like, take that into consideration. So let's just say a month, right? You go into your doctor a month later and they're reading labs from the month prior. You're a completely different physiological picture. And they're giving you guidance off of labs that are completely and utterly irrelevant.
So this is, again, where I sing the praises of the wisdom of the Eastern toolkit, because I was always taught to treat what's in front of you. Well, and it's even more relevant for women because we have the symphony of hormones that's constantly moving throughout the month when we're in our bleeding years. And it's like, okay, cool. The needle is moving. What is it that we're looking at today? Like, why is it that you've had headaches the last couple of days? Well, oh, okay, you're right around ovulation. So it's showing that ovulation isn't happening super efficiently, right? So what is happening in the person that's sitting across the table from you right then? I will have people take the picture of their tongue the day I'm going to see them. And please don't scrape your tongue if you're going to see a Chinese medicine practitioner, because that stuff is diagnostic tools. Again, I hate using that D word, but this is a term that will land in the brain of Western trained people.
And I think this is a legitimate way to diagnose, if you will. And it's not the same diagnosis as like, you have IBS. What the fuck does that even mean? Who came up with the term IBS? What's their name? What is it rooted in? What are the quote unquote treatment options outside of pharmaceuticals? Like, I really encourage you to start questioning what a diagnosis is, what a prognosis is. Where did it come from? Words are powerful.
Yeah. Looking at the body in the way that Chinese medicine does, like, I know that for me, it makes a lot of sense. But when I start explaining some of the terminology to my clients, because a lot of it is teaching, right? When you know what's happening inside your body, you know how you can care for yourself better. And so when we're coming back to this idea of fire crotch, a lot of times I'll see people go, oh, well, it must be my scented soap, or it must be this, or it must be that. Okay. Number one, yes. Are there a lot of chemicals and crap in a lot of the body care products that we use? Yes. But unless you're douching with it,
don't douche.
Please do not douche for any freaking reason, unless you are talking to somebody like me and there is only one thing on this planet that I would ever recommend sticking inside of there, and that is a very case-by-case basis, okay? Yeah. But of all of the tools in this universe, one thing, right?
Not talking about a penis.
No. So, we have to be very selective about what we put in there, guys, right? So when we're looking at what is it that's causing this? A lot of times we think that we have to go get azo, and no, none of the solutions you were looking for are going to be found on aisle 5 at CVS. Like, it's just not going to happen. It has to do with the fact that your body is trying to level set itself. It wants homeostasis. It always does. It doesn't matter whether it's dry eyes or a dry vagina. Your body wants.
They're actually more connected than you realize, too.
They're very connected
from a meridian perspective. Yeah.
This is why I made that connection, actually. So, this very intricate system is always looking to create balance and harmony. And when you're having symptoms of any kind, it means that there is a disharmony or dysregulation, a dis-ease in that system. So my training is all about creating balance in that system. This is physical. This is emotional. This is energetic. So products are not going to necessarily solve your problem. You're looking at nourishing the body in certain ways. You're looking at venting emotions that need to move, because emotions are energy in motion. You need to move energy. And when things remain stuck, i.e., this 7 years and partners of the past and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. If things need to move, sometimes you need the support of a practitioner like me, like Taylor, to help create that movement, right? You might have that locked down so friggin' well as a protective mechanism, right? That you can't get it to move. So something like pelvic steaming, like Taylor was talking about, and oh my God, the videos that are out there right now that make me absolutely want to throat punch people. Vaginal steaming is not a bad thing. Okay. I am going to be soapbox for just a second because there is this vaginal steaming is a facial for your vagina, like clip that I see everywhere.
It's clickbait. Okay? I hate this culture.
It makes me crazy. And I've seen pelvic PTs say things like the vagina is a self-cleaning oven. I hate that phrase. Oh my God. But anyway, it's a self-cleaning oven. You don't need to do anything. The steam isn't getting inside of you anyway. You know, I've seen people use that clip and make jokes about, you know, why would you need to steam the kitty? Blah, 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 blah. Okay.
I love you.
Let me just, again, on my soapbox or my steam box, shall we, for just a second here. No, we're not talking about the steam going inside of your vagina. The reason that it works, okay, and I have never seen anyone else anywhere talk about it this way. So this is me. This is unique to me. There are 2 acupuncture points on your perineum that are a powerhouse for creating balance in this lower jowl or this lower part of your body that we're talking about here. Those 2 acupuncture points, they're generally not needled. And there's a long list of reasons that I'm not going to bore you with now. But those 2 points are a powerhouse. What steam does is it gently stimulates those 2 acupuncture points non-invasively to create balance in the lower part of your body. So for the people who say things like, the vagina is a self-cleaning oven, go fuck yourself. Please talk to me. Can you tell how much this pisses me off? Because I see MDs say it. I see other kinds of professionals. And if you have letters after your name, everybody thinks that you know what you're talking about. But the thing is, I am not trained to use a scalpel. I am not going to walk into an operating room and I'm not going to operate it on ectopic pregnancy because that's not my training skills.
Thank God.
You are not trained as a pelvic steaming professional. Do not start making claims if you do not know what the hell you're talking about. Period.
It's the same thing with herbs. Like all of the doctors that are like, don't ever take herbs. And I'm like, how much time have you spent studying them?
Yes.
Oh, you haven't?
But that's it.
Got it.
They have massive malpractice insurance that they have to kowtow to, right? And if they make a suggestion and they don't know and something adverse happens, I get it. They don't want to get sued. But that's why you have to talk to people who are trained
and let me tell you
and understand what they're doing.
Guess what? We have to be trained in the pharmaceutical.
Yes.
Pharmacokinetics. We have to understand the mechanisms of action, right? Like we have to as herbalists. So like we get the training together.
Yes,
right.
I have huge botanical safety manuals in my office, huge books, because they're always adding pharmaceuticals to the market. So we have to stay on top of what does this drug do in the body.
That is too. Like, sorry. Okay.
I sit and I watch the pharmaceutical commercials, and when they start listing what could potentially go wrong,
longer than the rest of the commercial, as everybody's like dancing and they're like, you're gonna have diarrhea, and people are like, yeah. You're like, I'm so confused right now. Like, what are we doing?
Well, just based off of the descriptions, I'm like, oh, this is an immunosuppressant.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're not going to have XYZ symptom like eczema and this and that and whatever, but it's because you're telling your immune system to stop doing what it knows how to
that
do.
shit's just brewing underneath the surface.
Mhm.
It's like, oh my God, steroid withdrawal when you use topical steroids and they only work for so long, but your skin is thinning and you're also getting microdoses of steroids into the blood, delivered routinely. And then your skin freaks out on the back end. It's like, well, because we've totally shit all over the skin barrier. Like the microbiome that exists to protect you, mucus. Like, I'm not going to soapbox here. Yes, but it's just silencing the very thing that's trying to get your attention. And there are more effective ways that your grandma probably utilized. I almost broke the fucking internet when I talked about a bleach bath. Like, I'm probably going to get some fucking hate video off of this one too, right? But if you understand the chemistry behind putting a half cup of traditional, non-concentrated, non-scented bleach into like a full fucking bathtub, you're getting an oxygenating salt.
Yeah. It's organic chemistry, guys.
Clearly, y'all fucking slept through it. Coming from the person who had to do like multiple rounds of biochemistry for her degree. Like, I have had so much chemistry, it's disgusting. So like, if it's safe enough for someone to utilize on their pediatric patient, P.S. the pharmacy sells you the same bleach in a brown bottle with a different label for a lot more money. Throwing that out there. Like, I've had pharmacists come to me and be like, do people not realize we sell this? It just looks different. And I'm like, no, because it comes under the scientific name, right? So it doesn't actually just say bleach. But to your point, like, there are ways that you can address things without completely fucking every ecosystem that exists within you and on you up.
Yes. So this is getting back onto my soapbox. This is why
back to the vagina.
We are. Look at this. We call this episode Fire Crotch, and it's been one of the fieriest episodes we've had yet.
Fun one. We're fiery.
We are. I don't get fiery very often. I'm too airy and heavy for that. But that's as I point backwards to the steam stool in the room behind me. This is why I feel so passionately about like everybody should own a steam stool.
Yeah.
But it really comes down to education because when you order garden variety herbs off of some whoosy what's its website and you order a box, okay, if you're going to do steaming, you have to make sure you're getting good quality stuff because you're putting chemicals where you don't want them.
And herbs are really funky. You have to be very careful with your herbs, like sourcing, heavy metals, being sprayed with pesticides and herbicides. Like, you got to be very mindful of where you're getting your herbs.
And then the people who buy bulk herbs because they have ordered some generic something off of the internet and then they go, oh, well, I can do this. I'll just order all of the bulk herbs and I'll do it myself. I've seen it. So this is all stuff that I've seen. And I understand that people are trying to do it as a cost saving measure, but they're actually like opening, like all I can see in my head is the Kool-Aid man kicking the door open, like waiting for big problems to arise.
Because ratio matters too.
Ratio matters, quality matters. There's steam stool. I cannot tell you the number of them on Etsy. And it's not just Etsy. Yes, the people who do the sitz bath insert in the toilet is a problem because it is plastic and you're putting boiling water in something plastic that denatures the plastic. They try to do it as a cost-saving measure.
Are good with being boiled too. Like, we have to remember this.
Correct. Not all parts of a plant are good for being boiled. Yes. Some are better for infusion. That's another episode entirely. Yep. A lot of people will paint the box. They will put varnish on the inside, or they will use press board or MDF, which is like lots of pieces that get like
smashed together, essentially. Hamburger.
And glued, right? Or the one that looks like a board, but it's actually like 3 layers of board that are glued together. I see a lot of cheaper steam stools because I've had people ask me like, why are your steam stools like $200? It's because I'm using real wood.
Yeah.
And that shit's not cheap.
Yeah.
And so like, if you want to actually steam at home, please reach out to me. I can set you up with one of these with a cushion or without, you decide. But like, get the cushion. I highly recommend it, but it's real wood. And it's like a piece of furniture. So I don't treat the inside of the box. You're not getting chemicals up in your
You're also getting a ceramic crock pot.
Yes, because stainless steel, glass, and earthenware is all you should be using. And there's another stool out there. It does have some plastic components. I'm not going to say brand names, but I wonder how that one works in terms of the chemical piece of things because it's become very popular.
Yeah.
Anything that has plastic has the potential to denature under steam and high heat. And you are looking at putting petrochemicals in the most porous cells of your body. So pelvic steaming can be an incredibly powerful tool for anxiety, for depression, for fire crotch, for
irregularity in your bowel movements.
Yep.
Bloat, gas, distension, diarrhea, and constipation.
Yes, both. It helps, you're relaxing 37 muscle groups when you sit and you steam because of how these acupuncture points work. The fact you're increasing circulation in the pelvic floor. I mean, some practitioners will recommend things like femoral artery massage in order to help increase circulation in the pelvic floor when all you have to sit is for a few minutes with the right duration, the right herbs, the right steam.
At the right temperature.
At the right temperature over the steam stool. And that's something that you need to sit with somebody who knows what they're doing and they can help you with something like that.
Yeah.
So there's a huge foundation of actual acupuncture has scientific basis, right? And they're starting to do more studies on all kinds of things because insurance companies won't cover acupuncture and blah, 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 blah. So there's more and more data that is coming to the forefront that only is validating what Eastern practitioners have known for thousands of years.
It's like when I used to work in hospitals and I would come across working with a physician that was trained classically in India. I loved working with my physicians that were trained out of this country because they were, I'm not knocking anybody that's worked incredibly hard to become an MD. Really, I'm not. But when I rub elbows with somebody and conversate with somebody and witness somebody in practice who's been trained out of the country in their classical antiquity, most other countries are training their physicians through hands-on palpitation. They're not using diagnostic tools, not to say that there's anything wrong with diagnostic tools like imaging, but there's error in those things. And when a physician can come to a conclusion from palpating a patient, looking at the color of their eyes, checking their skin, checking their pulse in a different way, right? And then have the diagnostics validate it. It's like, okay, clearly we've got other traditions and modalities and training that is far superior to what we're learning here in the United States, which is high reliance upon technology,
So coming back to fire crotch, if Taylor had gone into the doctor, they would have swabbed her and said, you don't have an infection. And her response would have been,
swab. Yep.
But I still have these symptoms, right? This is so common. I see this in so many women, which is why when Taylor goes, do you want to talk about this on the podcast? I went, hell yeah. Yeah. Because this affects so many women. And
if I'm feeling weird about saying something, like if it took me 3 or 4 months of trying to troubleshoot myself, I imagine anyone who doesn't have, and I'm saying this lovingly, right? I have spent my entire life dedicated to the study of the body and different modalities. That's where I've spent my time. I don't know how to fucking change my oil or my tire or do my taxes, but saying we all have different wheelhouses, right? But I'm having a hard time being like, yo, Adrienne, my crotch is on fire. I imagine it's pretty uncomfortable for the general populace.
It is. And there's a lot of shame around feeling disharmony down there. There have been so many jokes that have been made on school buses and everything else about somebody smelling like fish, right? We just don't know what we don't know. So when we start coming up against things like this, we think there's something wrong with us. And really all it is your body's just trying to communicate with you. So this is where for those of you who have had this recurrent, I go into the doctor and they do the test and they tell me it's negative, but I still have the symptoms and I don't know what to do about it. There are things that you can do.
Yeah.
And this is one of those areas where I get on my soapbox about how people shit talk vaginal steaming. I refer to it as pelvic steaming because I can work with any body. Okay. Everybody has a perineum, which is that span between.
It's the taint.
Everybody knows what that is, right?
Yeah.
So you have these two really powerful acupuncture points.
I said taint.
We've said vagina. We've said taint. This is definitely an explicit episode. Do not listen to it around children.
We should have said that in the beginning.
Maybe we should put that disclaimer at the beginning. But this stool, this very gentle, non-invasive, honestly quite peaceful kind of approach to this, using it in a intelligent way under the guidance of a trained practitioner can completely eliminate the symptom because it helps you reestablish the balance and get rid of the excess in the body that's creating the symptom.
Guess what, guys? I started steaming not even a month ago. I just had my first cycle post integration of steam. Again, reintegration of steaming. I don't have fire crotch. Woo! I am feeling good. It's so nice. You don't realize how awful. I knew how awful it was, but you don't know how awful it is until you get to the other side and you're like, wow, I can wear underwear and not want to crawl out of my skin. This is really awesome. You know,
well, and you saw changes in your cycle too.
Oh, my cycle was less symptomatic. Let me put it that way. Right. And bowel movements change. I am a mixed pattern. So I deal with dampness, but we've done a good job at addressing the dampness between acupuncture and steaming and herbs between the two with Adrian and some of the stuff that I'm doing. And like, we've done a really good job at getting the dampness to a good place. It's the heat that I have a really big issue with. And we didn't understand how big of an issue I had until we addressed the dampness.
Yes.
Right. And heat can really wreck your bowel movements. It can really impede your body's ability to absorb nutrients because nothing's moving through the system in an appropriate capacity. It can cause incredibly uncomfortable and painful bloating and distension. Right. It can create issues with food because what's going in is not being properly digested. So, I mean, steaming, acupuncture, obviously herbs, appropriate foods for my constitution. Like, it's a multifaceted approach.
It's a lifestyle.
And I don't think I would be able to navigate this chapter of my life without it. I do think it's important, though, that we talk a little bit about some of the things that can cause irritation in the vaginal canal.
Yeah.
So obviously we've talked a lot about dampness and heat. We've talked about a little bit about estrogen, tampons or pads. Adrian made mention of feminine products because they can cause friction and introduce bacteria.
I generally say, please don't tampon.
I agree with you.
Please don't. Like, even the organic ones, just like, I understand and they're convenient, but I would much rather see you use a menstrual cup or a menstrual
disc. They can
disc.
actually worsen your cramps too.
Yes, they do, because you're supposed to be down and out, right? That's the energy of your period. The blood is the flushing mechanism. It isn't the period itself. Its job is to clear the unused endometrial lining. And when you put a tampon in, you create a block that doesn't allow for those things to flow. And when they don't flow out, you end up back up.
It's like, go.
And your body will cramp trying to get it out because there's no more flushing mechanism to get it out with.
Yeah.
So please don't tampon.
I mean, I would even go so I get like discs and cups, but I don't know about you. My body is pretty anti anything going up there.
When people have heat or inflammation, it can be really hard to do
it's
that.
It's uncomfortable.
Not everybody experiences that, but like there was this thing that just came out about a certain brand of pads, and I'm just going to say that much and encourage you to go do your research. That
fucking mint in their lining. Like, who the fuck puts mint in the lining of their pads?
It's not just that. This particular brand, they're starting to link infertility to some of the chemicals.
Of course they are, because why don't we want women to succeed in life?
And then
we're that powerful that literally society has tried to sabotage us in every aspect of our existence. Like, just remember that every aspect of our existence, from the workplace to healthcare, everyone's like, let's just cut down the lady.
Yep. And it makes me crazy because then, you know, we have initiatives right now like, oh, the birth rates are down. We want more people to have babies. So we're going to change our regulation to force you to do it.
We can't go there right now because I will go off on a tangent about the cost of healthcare and the cost of living and the lack of paternal and maternal support. Okay. The United States needs to get their shit together. Sorry.
Yeah,
moving on, because I will go on a tangent. Disruption of pH levels from the blood, I think, is something that we get to pay attention to. Blood is more alkaline and the vaginal environment is more acidic.
Yes.
So those two clashing, right, can be really problematic. Inflammation from prostaglandins are responsible for the contraction, like that mechanism of action during your cycle. They're also responsible for like your loose poops and the increased discomfort that you experience. And then obviously hygiene products, even the natural ones, like Adrienne was just saying, your skin can definitely be like, that's not a good fit, especially during your period.
Yes. So look at what is in, even when you're dealing with like period panties and things like that. Please look and see if there are certain kinds of synthetics or forever chemicals or anything like that in them, because there are brands on the market that are popular.
I have one that you like and I have one that I like. So can you drop the name of the one that you like?
I like Modi Body.
Okay. And I really love Wild Moon underwear. So those are two really good examples. I don't know much about the company that you get yours from. I can tell you that Wild Moon underwear is made for women, by women, all organic material, bamboo and cotton. Like, I've had nothing but a good experience with them for all body shapes and sizes, which I super appreciate as a short torso human. They have fucking low rise. Thank you.
I always have to laugh at the ones that are thongs because I'm like, oh my gosh, my period is way too heavy for that shit. But I have found better success with fewer chemicals and interference with Canadian companies.
Yeah.
A lot more things that Canada bans that we allow here in the US. And you have to think all of those things are against some of the most sensitive skin that doesn't see the light of day on your body. You know, so if we want to talk about the evils of vaginal steaming, like, hello, let's look at what we're actually putting against our crotches on a daily basis. Like synthetic underwear, it will hinder your ability to regulate your temperature, which can create this pH imbalance. Synthetics in your active wear. Like, there are more and more companies that are starting to get on board with, oh, maybe we shouldn't put plastics in our active wear and things like that. But like anything that creates heat like that, I've noticed personally more sensitivity to, like, I wore predominantly cotton beforehand, but like even more so now, like I pretty much only wear packed underwear because I can tell the difference. I feel different if I wear any of the other brands that I had in my repertory, which at the time I thought weren't an issue. But the more I do,
just not wear underwear too. I just said that out loud.
Well, but if you're not, let's look at what you're wearing for pants.
Cotton.
But that's what I'm saying.
Under linen, I will say that.
Yep. But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, what is it that we're putting against our skin? Because our skin absorbs so much of what we put on it. 64 to 67% of what we put on our skin. This is oils, lotions, chemicals that we wash our clothes with, like all this stuff that ends up in our bloodstream. Fragrances. Oh my God, that's a whole episode. Taylor, let's do an episode about fragrances. But fragrances will affect, right? So all of these things, like if your laundry detergent has perfumes in it, that will affect your pH down there.
Oh God. No, it's been so long.
Right?
Yeah.
I have this fight with my teenagers constantly because my teenagers thinks mom is this wackadoo, crunchy hippie person that doesn't know anything. And they have started wearing fragrances or insisting that they put dryer sheets in with their clothing instead of using the wool balls. Like, one of my kids actually buys dryer sheets so that there's a certain smell. And I'm like, I just can't seem to get through.
Like my parents, my dad, if you ever listen to this episode, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for so many reasons, but you know,
you just listened to an entire episode about my crotch.
This one right here, you know, like my dad thinks it's cute to get my son Axe body spray.
Yep. And we went through that stage.
It's not cute. You know, like I'm like that fire breathing dragon mom that's like, okay, first of all, I'm dying because now the entire house smells like an aerosol.
Yes.
Right? And this is not. No. So I would also say too that this is not a conversation that's just about skin. It's about boundaries. It's about depletion. It's about the root power center. Your root power center. Your vaginal canal is your root chakra. Okay. And it's the energetic safety zone for so many of us. And it's sensual sovereignty. You know, we touched upon this a little earlier in the podcast, right? But when this area is inflamed or irritated, it's also an invitation to ask, like, where am I feeling raw in my life? You know, like, what boundaries are being crossed by others or by my own habits? What am I doing out of obligation that's draining my energy? It's not just inflammation, it's information.
Yes. And I invite you, if you don't take anything else from Fire Crotch, yes, is that your body creates symptoms as a means of communication.
She just loves you.
And she wants to feel good.
Mm-hmm.
And she wants to live in harmony with you. And the only way that she knows how to communicate with you is through symptoms.
Yeah.
And so when you learn that your symptom is communication and your body isn't betraying you, you have created a completely new relationship with your body and how to care for it.
Yeah.
And it's so important. Like, I can't stress this enough. If you don't take anything else from this episode, that your symptoms are your body's way of lovingly communicating with you. And if you catch it when it starts to subtly communicate with you, it takes less time to address. When you get to the point where you've ignored it long enough, it's screaming at you, then it takes longer to resolve. You have a deeper pattern.
And you also have a higher expectation because it's so uncomfortable that it needs to go away urgently. And that is a killer, literally, combo.
Yes, absolutely. And that's usually what brings people to my office is I've reached the frantic point. What do you mean it's going to take a couple of months to unscrew this?
I have a client right now, just to put this into perspective. We have been together 8 months. On our last call, she was like, I am finally seeing the water dissipate. I'm seeing the dampness subside. I'm seeing modulation in my cycle. And I'm like, how long have we been together? She's like, 8 months. I'm like, what did I tell you at the beginning? That this was going to take time and that herbs were having a conversation with the ecosystem, not interrupting. Like, literally, guys, 8 months, 12 months, 16, 18 months. Like, give yourself enough runway to not sabotage your own process. It takes time. And this doesn't mean that you have to overhaul your life, right? Just remember, this episode was all about supporting physically and energetically. There are ways you can nourish the tissue. There are ways that you can rethink period care. Cycle syncing with all aspects of your life is really important, especially if you're an entrepreneur, even when you're in the workforce. Like, finding a way to cycle sync is going to be life-changing. And working on energetic repair as well as working with a practitioner. These are things that you can do if you're in the market to steam. I'm telling you, Adrienne's brilliant at what she does. So I think it's really important to have educated advocates and allies in your community so that this topic of conversation is no longer something that women whisper about in DMs or cry about quietly after their period, right? Like, by bringing it into the light through conversations like this, we get to validate your experience and clearly mine. I mean, I use humor as a means of vagina. I had to get one more in, right? But we get to model what it looks like to lead from the body, not just from the mind, right? So if your body is the business, right? What part of your operation is asking for deeper support this cycle?
I love that.
We did a really awful job at sticking to 45 minutes. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed this beautiful episode. I don't think it's possible for Adrienne and I to go under an hour. We're going to try really hard. Adrienne, anything you want to leave the audience with? Or
your body loves you. It's not your adversary. And a lot of times reproductive health related things can feel that way because they're disruptive.
Yeah.
Like Taylor said, cycle syncing your life. And we could do an episode on that if you want to, Taylor. Like, what does that look like? But
you could tie the moon into it. Let's do it.
Haha, I love it. So, we are beautiful, complicated, dynamic beings, and the complexity is beautiful. And our bodies are a beautiful ecosystem that is just looking for balance. So if I can leave you with anything, starting to shift the way that you think about your body and what it is telling you is really the first step in the healing process, because then it doesn't feel like your body's always out to get you.
Yeah. On that note, go love on your vagina. Until next time. Stay